Hey everyone, welcome to BarnBridge Project Call 26. Very exciting last week, so we'll jump right into it. I'll kick it over to Bogdan for an update on the dev side and also to just talk through the launch. Bogdan?
Thanks, Christian. What's up, guys? So in terms of dev updates, same as last time, I guess. They're going to be pretty short. We've pretty much wrapped up our mandate and delivered the products promised in the white paper. So right now we're going to go back to work on more. In the meanwhile, the only things I can tell you is that we're working on layer 2 integration for Smart Alpha. Polygon is coming up next week. And then we're going to have Arbitrum, Avalanche, and Optimism planned. We still have some issues with Gnosis safe pending on Arbitrum. And pretty much after we set up the backend on all of them, it should be a slam dunk. I mean, with the slight exception for Optimism, where it's a bit more complicated because they have the whole whitelisting process and the regenesis event in October. But still, I guess over the next month, so mid-October, we're going to be on the ones I mentioned. So Polygon, Arbitrum, Avalanche, and Optimism. That's pretty much it. I'm going to leave it to the guys.
Do you want to go through just like a quick blurb about the Gnosis safe on? I mean, I can do it too. It's just like it's
sure. Why we're using it?
Yeah.
Or
like
how are we using it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so the need for Gnosis, pretty much to deploy Smart Alpha on other layer 2s, we need to test the backends, so make sure everything works with faster block times and all that stuff. And then we're going to need to, one key piece of infrastructure, which is having chain link price feeds on that specific layer 2. And the other, I guess critical piece is the Gnosis safe stuff that Troy was asking me about and that I mentioned. We need that because we're going to use that instead of bridging fees through smart contracts. We're going to use that's the simplest and quickest way we can do this. One multisig on the layer 2 and one on the mainnet. The one on the layer 2 is going to collect the fees, send them over to the one on layer 2, and that one is going to send them to the DAO authorization. And that's the simplest way we can do this infrastructure until bridges are more stable, I guess. And that's the quickest and the fastest way we can deploy so you guys can start using them, because realistically fees are gonna, at least for Smart Alpha, are gonna add up at the end of each epoch. So we're gonna leave them, the bridges, more time to mature, and then we're gonna work out an automated solution for that.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Awesome, thanks Bogdan. So I think we'll run through on the operations side kind of our priorities and what we're working on, and then I think we'll spend the rest of the call just chatting through some items around roadmap planning and kind of what's next. So just up front on the operations team, we're continuing to execute the Smart Alpha launch plan, marketing, partnerships, those kinds of things. We'll have a number of sessions around building out the roadmap following this. And then, business development continues. We'll look to potentially ramp that up as things progress, but we're watching the launch and looking forward to the next series of epochs. So with that, I'll pass it over to Max and then Pablo for marketing and other partnership related updates.
Awesome. Yeah, so on the Smart Alpha side, we're focusing on getting this pilot project set up for both the ETH USD and BTC USD pools. The UMA team has already, as of an hour ago, deployed the contracts that would be necessary. And so the way this would go, assuming there's no last minute swing of the snapshot vote, is that we would actually go ahead and vote to send the respective amount of bond to the deployed contract that UMA has set up for us. And from there on, we'd essentially be in a position where we can take snapshots necessary of who is getting those options tokens over the pilot period. And at the end of that period, the bond token, whatever the final sum is that gets allocated as a function of the KPI being tracked, that would get distributed from those UMA contracts. And we'd be on the front end, I think I'm not quite sure what the URL is, but it's essentially the Umaverse front end. So that should be really interesting to see both, what the impact is for just Smart Alpha usage, as well as, how that partnership looks in practice, right? Because if we can have, I don't know, single digit or even double digit programs going in parallel, all hosted on a single UMA front end, I think that would be very cool. And I think that's possible once other communities start to see the value of Smart Alpha and are actually willing to kind of do these types of KPI option programs with us, right? With their governance tokens as well. As far as other Smart Alpha items are concerned, we're planning on doing a post-mortem for the first epoch as a blog post. So that should be out on Monday then. And we're also looking into what the best way to do secondary liquidity is going to be. For those who aren't familiar, I think the kind of best concept we've come across to date has been essentially a 3-asset pool that's composed of the underlying asset, the junior asset, and the senior asset that is actually able to reweight itself on an epoch by epoch basis, such that the junior and senior side cancel each other out. And so what you get with that is essentially a pool that somewhat follows the kind of value of the underlying asset, but is also making all of the trading fees associated with, people maybe liquidating senior assets if those ever get, selected as collateral, maybe on our Rari pool. Or you could also imagine a scenario where people are really trading the junior assets heavily intra-epoch, just because they're going to be high volatility, right? So I think conceptually it's very compelling. And so now we're trying to figure out what the best way to implement that would be. I've been speaking with the Balancer team as of late, and it should be doable with a combination of their smart pools and maybe something like Gelato Network. We have like a keeper or a bot system in place to kind of push the weights every week over a given period of time as needed. That said, I think Sushi Trident code came out yesterday and would have similar capability. So I think looking into that and understanding what the release timeline for them is important as well. Though I do think Balancer makes the most sense, at least for this pilot period with the options program. So I'll keep everyone posted on that in the Discord as we move forward. But aside from that, I think that's about everything I have regarding Smart Alpha. Only thing I'd also note is that Twitter traffic has exploded since we launched Smart Alpha. So I think that's a really good sign. And hopefully the second epoch brings a lot more eyes to the product.
What do you mean the Twitter traffic has exploded? Like in what sense? Like replies or?
Have you logged into Twitter on our phone? Like just so many people talking. Yeah, I mean, like people are excited about Smart Alpha. Like they're talking about it. Like they're almost, it's like they're watching it almost like a sports match. Like they're like, oh, the juniors are competing with the seniors. Like the seniors have started to stack more towards this side. Like I think I tweeted from the Twitter account, like it truly is this market sentiment oracle that people are paying attention to. Like is the net market bullish this week or is the net market bearish this week? And you can see it in real time, and people are definitely paying attention and looking at it like that. I think that all of DeFi has been a little bit overshadowed by like NFTs, and people aren't paying quite as much attention to any DeFi projects the way that they were like when we got started last August, September. But like this particular product is definitely something that is extremely interesting to people and that people are paying attention to. I mean, I'm even paying attention to it for that reason. Like I'm like watching it to see like, is everybody bullish or bearish? It's working. It's working the way it was supposed to be. It took a long ass time to build, and it's a dope as fuck product.
So should we start advertising it as a price oracle or a sentiment oracle?
I don't even know if we advertise it a certain way. I mean,
Yeah, it's like a prediction market.
The
Right, it's like
community's
wisdom of the
doing it on
crowd.
their own.
Yeah. It is. It's like a prediction market that works like an actual prediction market should.
Yeah.
I think it's really, really, really cool what we built. Like, it's really cool.
What was that plus from Bogdan? For the advertising? The marketing?
For the whole cause help, but
Got
Well,
it.
Bogdan was the one that coined the concept that it could be an sentiment oracle literally a year ago. Like, we were on calls like this a year ago. You guys can like go and watch them. Like, he was the one that put that in the white paper. He's he's a sentient on sentiment.
I remember that working on the white paper. Good times.
I've shout out to like the dev team on like the execution of this product. I mean, it took a very long time for us to build out. And also I've literally seen people on Twitter talking about like that they have like parents that are like TradFi professionals and things like that, and that the white paper has actually helped them understand like why crypto is needed and like how it's useful. Like the kind of the BarnBridge thesis is the thesis that people are using to explain to TradFi, even if it's their own parents. Like, I mean, we're all millennials, and like a lot like people's parents are the people running all of these massive companies. So I think even just the fact that people, like, I haven't read in almost, let's say 4 to 6 months, even a tweet that someone's even talking about our white paper. So something about Smart Alpha has made people start paying attention, like has made people pay attention to the point that they're literally going back and reading our white paper, which like that, I think all around that it's exciting. I think it's cool. I mean, I'll get off my high horse. I just,
No, I thought that tweet that that guy put out was actually fascinating too. Like the fact that people are going back, that's having an effect on like higher
going back and
people up
reading
in,
where we started.
yeah, like that was pretty impressive. Like I got pumped when I read that.
And I think people should like understand about BarnBridge. Like back in 2017, people would like release a white paper and then they would take like years to release these products, right? We were very, very, very clear that we were going to go DAO first. And what that meant, I don't think people really even completely understood that at the time. But the way that I would look at it is that we spent months building a DAO, going through all the parameters, like how a DAO should work, like exploring the diamond standard. And in my opinion, there are very good DAOs in the ecosystem. There's basically like the stuff that 1inch did. There's the stuff that Compound did that kind of built standards for DAOs. There's like curves concepts. And basically, I think that we built literally, I don't want to say like the best, because I don't want to like start a whole bunch of like competitive bullshit, but we built one of the best, cleanest DAOs in the entire ecosystem that people are now starting to even realize what we built, and they're starting to fork it, right? The yield farming concepts people are looking at and starting to fork. Smart Yield and Smart Alpha were the original theses of BarnBridge. Do they like need improvement like any piece of code? Yes. But like we're basically taking our time building things properly, and it's almost like a 6-month catch up before people even realize what we built. Like right now in the entire world, there isn't a place that you can deposit $1 million and get a fixed rate of return at 2 or 3%. You can do that on BarnBridge. And yeah, I don't think that like the entire world has really figured out what exactly we built and how important that is. On Smart Alpha, it's almost like immediate. People are starting to realize what we built. And yeah, I think it's extremely exciting because we have spent a lot of time doing all this shit properly. And I think DMob deserves a massive shout out.
Thanks. Thank you. Everyone did a great job. The operations team, the dev team, everyone.
Hundred percent.
Sorry, I
Oh,
like
yeah,
your new,
What's that?
I like your new mic.
Oh,
You look
thank you,
so
sir.
official now.
I know, right? Concrete rooms had to upgrade. This room echoes like crazy. So hopefully I'm coming in silky smooth.
Nice.
You are super smooth.
Is there a light on that, Troy?
Yeah,
That's
there
pretty
is.
cool.
It's like the upgrade to you know who Roaring Kitty is? The guy who like started the whole Wall Street Bets AMC like go long thing. He had one of these mics, but he had like the all red one. I guess this is like the new one. So yeah, I'm just trying to live up to the legend.
It's nice. Pablo, you want to walk through your updates for the week just to tie things back a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, so marketing updates are closely tied to Smart Alpha as well. We did a bunch of updates on the website. Last week we released the Smart Alpha page that basically briefly goes over the product and explains it in a simple way. Has the links to the beginner's guide and to the simulator as well. So feel free to use it and just send it to friends as well when you preach about Smart Alpha. We also did add the what is BarnBridge video to the website, to the homepage. So that's now accessible through the website as well. We are getting the report done by Masari about mostly like explaining what BarnBridge is and kind of like focusing on the particularly the Smart Alpha project. And I think this is going to be a great explanatory piece for more like with a like more analytical and technical focus. So looking forward to getting that. I just want also to give a shout out to DeFi Dad for all of those great video explainers and tutorials he's been doing lately, and all of the like Twitter coverage he got for Smart Alpha. So that was great. I've seen a lot of community feedback around that. And apart from that, we are still working on the Smart Alpha video explainer. So there will be even more like materials around the topic. And last but not least, we have also added the functionality to the Discord on-chain activity bot, so that also tracks all the Smart Alpha mainnet transactions as well. So feel free to use it and check the activity around the Smart Alpha. That's everything I had for today.
I also want to really highlight what Pablo said about DeFi Dad. Like, he has been involved in BarnBridge since like day one, and like he ended up joining the people that led our seed round, Fourth Revolution Capital. They've been like extremely helpful. They've voted on every single DAO proposal. They've actually never sold a single bond token, and they helped with a lot of the original modeling that was Smart Yield, and they essentially have helped along the way of modeling for like fiat, what we do with it, like basically what the outcome of that like product is at aggregate. And so like, yes, DeFi Dad ended up like joining one of our like partners who's been a gem the entire way along the way. But like even before that, like DeFi Dad like took a lot of time having calls about Smart Yield, what it was, like trying to learn to understand it. He had calls with Troy about the DAO and asked questions that even like made me understand what the DAO was and how it worked. And through working with him on like Smart Alpha, it really like helped us internally, even like learn how to talk about what we built and why. And so like I would say that like I don't think that I think DeFi data is like a gem for the entire industry, and he approaches things with such like a genuine curiosity that it helps like even us communicate things better externally. And yeah, like I don't think it has anything to do with the fact that he's a part of 4RC. I think it has to do with like he was involved in this project from day one and has been super active in the community. And I think that the community has literally tagged him in our Discord asking to like get listed on Zapper. I think that guy deserves like a special shout out for how much he's actually helped BarnBridge.
%.
So yeah, DeFi Dad, I'm sure you watch these and we love you. You're welcome to join these calls.
Yeah, I'm waiting for him to just like pop in here in a second.
To wrap up updates, Trevor, you want to just talk through the subgraph work you're doing briefly, and then we can shift to just roadmap stuff?
Yeah, just a few quick updates. So we have the subgraph for smart exposure in place and soon to come for smart yield. We'll be deploying those hopefully this weekend and staking some GRT token in order to get them indexed. And the other thing is I'll be looking over the code submissions for the DeFi hackathon. We have 2 InstaDApp adapters that are candidates. So I'll be doing a code review on that and making our decision very soon.
How are we feeling about that? Are we leaning heavily towards one, or is either one or both of them pretty solid?
Both are pretty solid. I still need to do a little bit more in-depth code review, but so far they look clean and both are great submissions.
What do we do with like that can then just be like PR'd into InstaDApp?
Yeah.
Cool. But that has to be done by that team though, right? Like it's not like a DAO. It's like it's their interface, correct? All right.
Thanks, Trevor. Cool. So in the last 15 minutes or so, Tyler, I can pass it over to you if you want to chat through kind of the current thinking for what's next.
Yeah, so we talked about this before this call, and we're having like a call basically after this call. So the way that I think that the community should look at this is when we were getting started, we released a white paper, and there were buckets in the white paper that we essentially needed to build and work on. I think that in a year time frame, we've executed on every aspect of that white paper. At like sometimes it feels externally like we're shipping slow, but then if you zoom out and look at everything that has happened along the way, it's actually like quite remarkable how much we've done with so few resources. From here, I think that we've noticed a couple things like along the way, like MakerDAO built for like 5 years before they got like product market fit. Like Aave was Ethland, and then like now everybody knows them as Aave. They built for years. Synthetics was Haven and then turned into Synthetics. Like they built for years. We're going to need to build for years and continue to work with the community. And so those projects all like pivot, not Maker, but they all pivoted along the way, right? And a lot of that was via feedback of the community and constant communication and iteration. And like, I've tried to be more active in the community. The noise like clip in the entire ecosystem is picked up substantially. I think that we need to basically look at this as, okay, we like kind of accomplished V1. And so the way that I'm looking at this, and we've had these calls internally, is that we really have like 3 buckets that for most protocols, those would be the entire protocol. Like Aave basically does one thing and does it really well. Like MakerDAO does one thing and does it very well. We're more like akin to like synthetics, where they're doing like multiple things kind of simultaneously. And some of those things have even like spun out from synthetics for that exact reason. And that has to do with focus. So like, if you look at Smart Yield, that is a way to like manage risk on like yield fluctuations in the market. Smart Exposure is basically a way to like manage your exposure to like baskets or pairs. Like I want to be 60-40 BTC and ETH. That has to do with risk management. And then Smart Alpha is basically risk management of like alpha fluctuations in the market. Where we go from here is figuring out like as a community and ecosystem, because like we don't we're not building in the shadows, we're building openly at the behest of the community. Do we add a 4th bucket, or do we basically say we want to focus on improving these 3 buckets with the idea that the community has been very, very, very clear that one of the things that is probably holding us up from like mass adoption, which again took years for other protocols that everybody is excited about. Some of them, it happened in months, right? Like YFI and Alchemy did a great job. We're planning on building for years, right? And so we need feedback on what that is. The loudest feedback that we have heard from the community in Discord and conversations and communications, and I read all those messages, even if I don't like respond to every single one the way that I used to. And Max can probably attest to this or correct me, because this is an open discussion, is I think that the loudest feedback that we've gotten has been the lack of leverage across our 3 products, or the ability to lever across our 3 products. And also the lack of like secondary like ability, right? Like you don't have access to these secondary markets. I think that those, in my opinion, are the next things that we really should focus on. And I think that when we originally started building BarnBridge, we made assumptions that were correct in most ways, in my opinion, but some were incorrect. And we have to go back and correct our pre-assumptions that weren't right. One of them was we thought that Compound and Aave, if we didn't essentially have the ability to borrow against these assets written into the smart contracts, that like they would feel comfortable downstream listing these assets. Well, part of the problem that happened there was that these are NFTs and it's not that easy to code, right? So we may essentially need to work on our own ability to like provide leverage to these products. And like I said, in my opinion, that's the area that we've gotten the most feedback on, is lack of leverage and lack of secondary. And so that's something that we need to work on. Separately, another thing that we talked about in the white paper was the need for like layer 2 compatibility within the products. Smart Yield, we really can only go where the people that we integrate with are. Compound is not on a layer 2 as far as I know. Aave is only on Polygon. So with Smart Alpha, we have a little more autonomy on where we build to. So we've been very active in talking to the Optimism team, We've really dug into Arbitrum. Like Troy's literally been playing around with all of these platforms over the past couple weeks. And Alex on our team, who I don't think is on this call, has been busting ass looking into every single one of them and figuring out which one that we build to. And so for smart exposure, smart alpha, we have a little more autonomy on where we go with these. And Polygon has been an awesome team to work with. So like the immediate roadmap is that we need to build to layer 2s. Like smart alpha is dope, but it's even more dope on a layer 2 where like the fees don't cut in and people can essentially make like smaller, like $50 incremental bets on where they go. That's not completely allowed on Ethereum layer 1. So our immediate, let's say month, 2-month roadmap is just, let's get all the bugs fixed on smart alpha, like small interface type stuff. And let's work on building to a layer 2 that everybody like collectively agrees and is excited about. The longer term roadmap, that's a much bigger lift. I mean, those are like, what do we work on for the next 6 months? And I would say in that respect, we almost need to hit a point that we collectively as a community view this as, let's write a new white paper on what we do, right? Like the white paper was a roadmap and we executed on it. I think that the community's been clear on the things that they would like to see in that roadmap going forward. And I think layer 2, leverage across the products that we have, and secondary access to the products that we have been the most vocal. But we have some massively giga-brain people in our Discord, and we would welcome feedback on other things that they would like to see. And Bogdan has ideas on things that he wants to build. And I think that there should be a more community-driven effort. And I would actually say, Max, like, you're the most active in the community. Would you agree that these are the things that the community is asking about?
I would definitely agree. And I think as a DAO first project, it's not just kind of the projects or, well, the applications, right, and protocols that we should focus on, but I think it's also time now that, you know, smart alpha and smart yield and smart exposure have been delivered, that we really take a good long hard look at kind of our governance infrastructure as well. Because I am just like consistently impressed with the type of feedback we get from the community. Folks that, you know, come into the DMs and always have great ideas, have great feedback. And I think really formalizing, you know, that great chart you shared on Twitter, Tyler, about the bond token distribution in a way that, you know, like YFI or synthetics has accomplished to date is just as big of a priority at this point, because leveraging that hive mind is what, you know, separates good projects from great projects, in my opinion. And I'm excited now that, you know, I think with smart alpha, I do think, you know, a lot of community members are finally like invigorated to kind of take the next step and really like dedicate time to thinking about, you know, how we can keep advancing what we've built to date. And I'm really excited to see that all kind of unlock over the next few months, and, you know, take the time to really think through how we can best kind of crystallize the community and its collective value, so to speak, with more kind of standardized governance participation and visualization as well.
And to harp on what Max is saying, I think like this concept of like the collective hive mind, this has literally been probably what like I have been most proud about with BarnBridge, because like the code isn't on me, right? Like D-Mob and like Indian Chief Malad and Bogdan are the ones like leading that, and they've absolutely fucking crushed it. I think that I've done a really good job of getting smart people in the community who are active. If I was to say like what I've contributed the most to this project, and I think that Max has done a spectacular job of keeping them there. Like, well, not, I mean, it's not just me and Max, it's everyone on this call, right? even these recorded calls are to drive community. So I'm not like taking credit. Don't anybody take this the wrong way. What I think that we should do though, is I think that everyone on this call, including me, should probably be more active than usual in Discord over the next month. And we should potentially even put like a channel up called like, I don't know what to call it. Where do we go from here? And we work with everybody and all these giga brains and basically work through where do we go from here? Because we have a solid idea of what the answer to that is, and we're prepared to build it. I think that I should also add to that, though, we're also welcome to feedback and we want it because the people using our products are the people in that Discord. And we want to build with you. So that should be an action item off the basis of this call, is to set up some type of thread or channel where we can kind of consolidate these types of conversations, because a lot of them happen in governance, a lot of them happen in general. I try to stay away from speculation because it's just chaos in there, but we should set up like a kind of area and yeah, start having these conversations because they're important for all of us. Pablo, we'll get you to help set that up. I don't know what to call it.
When
Maybe
was the
some-
last what is it called? Where they do the talk on Discord? What was it? There's like company hours or something.
We have them. I think I skipped the last one because I was running an errand. So I think 2 weeks ago. Max, was the last one last
Yeah,
week?
so
or the week before?
well, it was 4 weeks ago because one fell through and then the other was replaced by the kind of like AMA we had with DeFi Dev. So it will be next week. Usually they're supposed to be every other week.
We should use that as like a breeding ground right now.
I
in my
actually
opinion.
agree with Troy. We should have a channel and then we should have like some, maybe more often, like, let's like have like a public, Fridays are always a day that things are a little bit light. Like we should have like an hour long specific to like road mapping and feedback from the community for specifically this reason, maybe like next week and the week after, and start to compile some of this feedback along with having a channel in Discord, because now is when we need to get this feedback.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's a really
I
good
think
idea.
moving to Fridays is definitely the move. So I'll take care of that with Pablo.
Yeah, good shout out, Troy. That's a really good idea.
The one thing I would add about from a roadmap perspective, and it's something I've talked with Bogdan a bit, is that kind of a low hanging fruit for a bit of a like product expansion going forward is probably LP tokens in Smart Alpha, just because LP tokens are kind of the end of the road for a lot of folks, right? Once you're in the LP, you might be farming it somewhere else, but there's hundreds of millions of dollars invested in LP tokens that just sit in people's wallets. So I think a Smart Alpha pool for some of the more popular ones could be cool. And I think there's an interesting kind of dynamic when it comes to impermanent loss in those types of pools, right? Because if you get more of the underlying asset, you're essentially combating IL to some extent. And so from a development perspective, what needs to get done there, right, is thinking about what is an appropriate like senior rate model for those assets, right? Because ETH USDC, for instance, is not going to be as volatile as just ETH alone, and kind of so on. So I think that's something we can focus on alongside some of this L2 work as well. And it's not a brand new product, obviously, but I do think it greatly expands kind of the total addressable market for Smart Alpha in relatively quick fashion. So I think that could be a more near-term win when it comes to thinking about the roadmap.
Well, everybody, Do we have other stuff to go through on this call? This call's actually gone longer than it normally does, probably because I'm talking a lot. So Christian, maybe we need to wrap it up and go through the rest of the action items.
I think we're good. We've covered what we had planned, so this was good. I think we're good to wrap up.
I think we're good too. Sounds good.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Rick.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
See you in 2 weeks.
Bye, guys.
Well.